am an idiot. I knew what this was. I had months to prepare. I had countless, endless comments and TikToks to prepare me for the last page of this book. And what did I do? I read it. In bed. In my pajamas next to my sleeping husband, nowhere near a camera or any form of documenting device that would record my reaction to the ending of this book because I had a fit. And it was only then that I realized everyone warned me. Everyone told me. People even requested that I record my reaction to the end of this book. But, for reference, it went a little something like this. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Neverland Book Club. Today we will be discussing our July wrap-up. We're not talking about August yet because I have been mood reading more than usual and I honestly don't know what I'm going to read, so we'll all find out eventually. First, I'd like to give a special thank you and shout out to our new patrons over on Patreon. Our two new patrons in July include Rachel Wolf, whom I see comment here and there on this channel. Thank you, dear Rachel, and Little Secrets by C. Thank you both very much for your support, and please feel free to message me with any comments, suggestions, or overall bookie talk. There aren't many of you just yet, and I don't blame you. My posts over there are sporadic and pretty just non-consistent. Existent. I have a tendency to spread myself a bit thin with multiple avenues, but I do plan on posting writing projects as they progress and such over there, so be sure to check it out. I might even do like long form of these videos with like less edited. We'll see.
It'd be like a special outtakes more than anything.
Oh yeah, we could do like outtakes. Also, if you want a more intimate form of information, notification information, text book club to this number here. All right, back to business. July wrap up. I have to start with House of Sky and Breath. Sarah J. Maas, the latest in the fairy books, as my mother calls them. This one I read in half the time it took me to read the first one, and I was hungry the entire time. I ate it up like a starving desert cactus. I sprinted through the story so fast it feels like a dream when I try and recall scenes. They're there in my head, but the entire book is overshadowed by that very last chapter, that last page, that last line. There were hints. And I am not spoiling anything for anyone, though I'm pretty sure I'm the last person on the book internet who finally got around to reading it. But there were many hints, and I still didn't see it coming. I saw the reactions back in February when the book first released. I remember thinking, what could it possibly be? What is it that she wrote that could possibly render all these readers so utterly speechless and awestruck? Well, I'm in that pool. I am the demographic. If that makes me a basic fantasy bitch, so be it. Up until last year, I only read horror thriller novels. People change! And boy, have I changed. Back to the story. We're with Bryce, Hunt, Rune, and all of our other quirky characters in Zootopia. I mean Crescent City. Bryce is pushing her luck with her father and testing the waters after making the drop in the epic ending of the last book. Her and Hunt have a few spicy scenes sprinkled here and there for some added flavor, and the adventure continues with another over-the-top plan to outsmart the city's 1%. This 800-page novel is all leading up to this final scene. Our characters take up most of those pages preparing for this big finale, and then drama. Such drama. The callbacks, the epiphanies, the emotional tear-jerking moments, and then that damn ending. I'm hooked. I'm in. All in. Whatever this woman wants, I'd give it to her. She has monopolized a feeling, a reading feeling that I can't quite put my finger on. I used to make fun of these people on Book Talk who said Miss Maas has ruined reading other books for them, but you know what? I kind of feel that. I don't know what kind of Disneyland air she pumps into these books, but I'm sold. A year ago, I would have been more than hesitant picking up an 800-page book written by anyone other than King, and there are only a handful of his books that are that long. But with Maas, the page count doesn't seem to matter, as long as the characters are there. Remember my one complaint about House of Earth and Blood? About the laggy middle? Yeah. Didn't feel that as much with this one, despite it being a smidge longer. I enjoyed every bit of it, and I recommend this to those who have already read all of ACOTAR and the first Crescent City book. Don't go into this blind. No. 5 stars. 5. I want to go back. Let's continue with the positivity train before we get into the disappointments of the month. Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. I actually finished this one as of filming last month's TBR because I have no self-control. And dear God, did this book speak to me. This was an excellent palate cleanse, but more than that, it was therapeutic. It was self-reflective and required a level of depth and understanding I'm afraid some readers may not understand if they are not familiar with the way these people think. The characters in this novel felt more real than most people I've met in person. They felt more compassionate, more empathetic, more relatable than most people in real life. And either that's sad for reality or just sad for me, but let's not get into that. I took extensive notes. I don't know if you saw any of that. I took extensive notes while reading this novel. I felt it deserved more than just tabs, and I actually didn't want to tab it since I want Pablo to read it eventually, if he so chooses. Loving a person who is nearly atypical can be difficult, and as an atypical person, it is also difficult to decipher whether the one you love loves you or for your malleability, which can be a hard slap in the face when one shows their true colors. This was a love story between two people. That's it. There was no big adventure or quest or monster to vanquish, but at the same time, there was. There were a number of memorable quotes dealing with self-acceptance, self-love, self-doubt, but one that's so simple that spoke to me in a way where I remind myself on a daily basis was, "Tell your mind to be kind to you today." This is a quote that the father of our main male character says, and honestly, that father figure character was perhaps one of the best parts of the book. I don't want to give anything away, but if you're in the mood for a love story with rich and decadent prose that were just, oh, so yummy delicious, please read this book. This one. 5 stars. I'm just giving them out like candy today. Next, we have It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, my first Coho book, and I assure you this will not be my last. I am on the Coho train and I do not intend on stopping. This book hurt. It hurt in the way your life choices hurt when you look back on them late at night waiting for your bed to get warm. There's nothing you can do to fix them now, once they've already happened and you're living in the reality of your actions after they have already taken place. But what you can do is learn from such experiences and make sure that it ends with you. That you make choices in the future that don't repeat the past in such a cycle that will go beyond your own trauma. Once you reach the end of this book and sit back and think about it for a moment, you start to see the red flags, the early red flags. Not only in the story itself, but possibly in your own story as well. While reading, I actually had a number of whoa moments when looking back on my own past relationships, things I didn't see in the clear light of day because I was too close to the problem itself, which is a much more complicated picture, much more abstract when viewed up close. Before this book, I was always on the leave him train. You know that guy on TikTok that's like, don't possess? Yeah, that was me. Anything, if he did anything. Nope, next. Not today, my dude. You've got the wrong gal trying to pull shit like that. But after reading this book, it's complicated. It's messy. It's not so black and white, and it can't be fully understood unless you're in it. Again, this is exactly why books are so important. They open doors in your mind you had welded shut in opinion and judgment and prejudice. It pries them open and shines a light on your predetermined views and forces you to look through the peephole of circumstance and see these characters as yourself and identify with the life you didn't choose. I recommend this book to those who are not easily triggered by accounts of domestic violence. I do not recommend this book to those who don't like Ellen DeGeneres. If you know, you know. 4 stars. Well done, Miss Hoover. I'll most definitely be seeing more of you. This one is very hyped, and I get it. It's hyped for a reason. Next, and still going strong for a month of good reads, The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. You were right. This was so much better than Mexican Gothic, and I had been craving a good scary story. This delivered on many accounts. Not only were the vibes right on point, but the story, the plot, the characters, the pacing, the writing itself, all so good. I was scared, actually, at the edge of my seat while reading. This book was better than most of the horror films out there today, and trust me, I've seen a lot, especially recently. Should I make a movie-related video once in a while? With Neverland Movie Club? Ooh. Ooh.
Neverland Midnight Club.
Neverland Midnight Mass. I just want to talk about Midnight Mass.
Neverland Mike Flanagan Club.
Neverland Mike Flanagan Club. Oh my god, can you imagine if he came on? I love him. You see his wife? He does something good.
Right.
Movies. We have our main heroine in a new setting surrounded by new people, a new home, and a new town, and we have our main male hero, a priest with otherworldly abilities. Without spoiling anything, of course, this gave me a slight forbidden love vibe here and there, but that could just be me projecting. This felt like a horror novella I didn't know I needed. The atmosphere, the setting, the period, it all fit so well and wove together such an interesting story. I can't wait to read more by Kanyas and dive deeper into her mind. I recommend this book for all of my horror readers that are looking for something that also has a bit of drama with a solid story. Mexican Gothic walked so the Hacienda could run. 3.5 stars. Loved it. Go read. Okay, here is where we get into a bit of the disappointment for this month. The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. You know, it's actually funny how I sometimes, not always, but sometimes tend to read novels I dislike even faster than those I like. I finished this one in about a day. I think I end up speed reading novels I'm not necessarily enjoying because I want to get back to a good book and savor that instead. Makes sense. It's pretty predictable. A lot like this book. The plot was so predictable, I'm pretty sure I subconsciously knew the ending from reading the description on Goodreads. I always feel bad for saying things like this in case writers are discouraged from my words, but on the other hand, here's what not to do. This novel is alright where it's alright and pretty bland where it's bland. The alright aspect, I'd say, comes in the form of this feels like dinner theater in a book. And it does. This is like one of those interactive plays where you have dinner in a mansion and the lights go out and you don't know who's a guest and who's an actor and you all need to collectively find the murderer in the room. Except in this book, the murderer has a sign on their head that says murderer. And you, as the main character, have just never read a murder novel before. Apparently. I'm sorry, I didn't like this one. The characters were weird for weird's sake. Like someone who isn't weird at all thought, what would a weird person do? Oh, I know. Type. Ow. No, write what you know. And the main oblivious character was so oblivious, it actually took the fun out of reading. Like, really? You can't figure this one out? Really? The novel was also written in multiple perspectives, so you get the inner thoughts of the bad guys and the good guys at the same time and need to decipher for yourself what's what and who's who, which is actually an interesting and interactive concept when done correctly. Here, it fell flat. I also wanted to read this because Paris, and I wanted to feel like I traveled just a bit more. Didn't do that either, so 2.5 stars. Alright, last on the list, and something I tried so desperately to like. I really did. Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. I am so sorry, but I hated this book. I went into it with an open mind. Truly, I did. I wanted the forbidden secret love story. I wanted the angst and the delayed gratification, but then while reading it, I was just annoyed by the main character to the point of being annoyed by the entire book in general. The nonchalant attitude and arrogance put me off. The indifference in dialogue while having a clear and unhealthy obsession within the mind of the main character, juxtaposed in a way that just did not make sense. I did like the vibe of it all. I like the concept of the forbidden love trope with an older man you know you can't quite have fully. The idea of the story is the one thing that kept me going through the entire read. And this is actually a book I wish I had just DNF'd to make time for other things. I understand why this is a beloved story for many. I do. But it just didn't do it for me. I also watched the film adaptation after reading, and although the look of the film was like honey for the eyes, the characters were just the same. Boring, nonchalant, uninteresting. I can't honestly recommend this book to anyone since I did not personally enjoy it. There was one part where I had to put it down because I was like, what? Really? There's an apricot involved. The apricot is compromised. And I didn't expect them to show that fully in the movie, but they did. 2 stars, all of it. Movie and book combined. 1 star for each. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Alright, that's all I have for you, dear viewers. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe for more. Also be sure to click that bell to be notified whenever we post another video. And don't forget to text Book Club to this number here on screen if you want more notifications for other forms of content we may post in the future. Today's shout out goes to Rachel Wolf, not only for being one of our patrons, but for this comment as well. Remember when I explained how I am an organized mood reader? Well, lately I've been a bit unorganized, which is why I don't have a TBR this month to share with you all. I'm kind of winging it, and I'll explain why this wrap-up is actually cut a bit short from the actual number of books I've gone through. But again, getting ahead of myself. Back to your comment. I do love your idea of playing a raffle with your own TBR list. This gives me an idea for the months to come. Thank you for your support and your creativity. Alright, I'm off to go mood read my way through the last month of this summer season. I'm longing for those long fall afternoons and chilly reading nights. A Scorpio can dream. Stay lost, keep reading, respect your fruit. Goodbye.